Although we won't like to do it, I think you've got to give Bristol City a lot of credit for getting that point. Hello everybody and welcome back to OUFC fan viewers. Ian here once again. It's time for another review of another Oxford United game. Today the U's were back at home. They were at home to Bristol City. It's 8 games unbeaten for new boss Gary Rowett as he continues to steer the United ship into calmer waters in this championship. But Oxford still need to be a bit weary and certainly aren't safe yet with a lot of the heavy hitters still to play. And one of those heavier hitters came to the Kassam Stadium in Bristol City. A lot of this game beforehand would have been overshadowed by the return of Liam Manning to the Kassam Stadium. But that was really a sideshow and an afterthought, because this game certainly had controversy, certainly had talking points, and one is going to be where Oxford are disappointed they didn't get the victory. But Bristol City certainly do deserve a lot of credit for showing their fighting spirit. But let's say there is plenty to talk about. Bristol City played for over an hour with 10 men, and Oxford could not get the victory. First time Oxford don't win at the Kassam Stadium under Gary Rowett, but they don't lose it. It's all square. Oxford won, Bristol City won. As I said, there's plenty to talk about in this game, and we'll go over all of it. I'll go over the team news, I'll highlight the key incidents in the game, and then I'll give my final thoughts at the end of the video. If you do want to jump to the end of the video and just see my final thoughts, which I give for both sides, that's absolutely fine. Please feel free to do so. You can use those timestamps down below, but I'd always encourage you to watch the whole video. But either way, please hit that like button, certainly on draws, because they always seem to be the least viewed videos. Please do hit that like button because it helps me out a lot. And if you do like the content, then consider subscribing. So let's have a look at the team news, and we start as always with Oxford United. And Gary Rowett, well, he likes to keep things simple with his team selection. There is just one change from the side that got a 0-0 draw at Stoke a week ago, and it's Tom Bradshaw who drops to the bench and Mark Harris takes his place up front again. No changes on the bench either, and also some transfer news to talk about as Oxford did welcome back Stan Mills to the club yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but it's good to see Stan Mills back, but he came in too late to be available for this game. Moving on to Bristol City then, and welcome back to the Kassam Stadium for Liam Manning. Who was there giving him a rousing round of applause and who was jeering him? Let me know down below. But the Robbins started the day in 8th place, just 3 points outside the championship playoffs. City themselves are in very good form with just 2 defeats in the last 10 games, but their form is much worse when you take them away from Ashton Gate. Manning makes 5 changes from the side that got a good win at home against Blackburn last time out. Ross McCrorie, Joe Williams, Mark Sykes, Narky Wells, and there's a debut for West Ham loanee George Urphy. Coming out of the side is Bird, Armstrong, Mehmeti, Roberts and Tanner. But when you play against Bristol City, there is a host of Oxford United old boys, not just Liam Manning. You've got the likes of Luke McNally, who's been superb at the back so far for Bristol City, playing alongside Rob Dickie. Mark Sykes, he might get a frosty reception, but he's in there as well. And you've got Marcus McGuane, who came on and played a part in that playoff final, on the bench. So let's start talking about the game then, and the first incident in this game was a yellow card for McCrorie as he clattered into Peter Kioso. Again, you could argue it was slightly harsh, and I'm sure Bristol City will be thinking that all the way through this game, and it does give a lot of foreshadowing for what happens later on. But it was a decent first 5 minutes for the visitors. Mark Sykes causing trouble with a powerful run down the Bristol City right. Maybe that's some foreshadowing for later on as well. He got a good cross into the box, and Narky Wells really should have done better with it, but it went past everybody and Oxford survived. But Oxford hadn't really got into their groove, and it was nearly a disaster. Shades of earlier on in the season as Cumming passing the ball out to Will Vaulks. It wasn't a great ball by Cumming, but Vaulks slipped as well, and it presented a chance to Twine, who got the ball in a dangerous area. Twine played it through the legs of Vaulks to add insult to injury, to find Wells in the penalty penalty area, but Wells took a heavy first touch and Kieran Brown, Mr. Oxford United, Mr. Dependable, was able to get across to make the tackle. But Oxford did grow into this game somewhat. There was good work down the right-hand side between Plaheta and Kioso. They combined well in the first half, and it was actually a fantastic ball over by Peter Kioso. I think it took everybody by surprise with the pace and accuracy of how Kioso hit that ball. Not least Mark Harris, who, if he'd have read it, would have had a pretty comfortable chance at the back post, but he seemed late to react to it and just couldn't adjust his body to get on the end of it. Both sides kind of struggling to create chances, and both sides probably looking at their best when they were able to turn the ball over quickly, and that's certainly where Oxford have looked at their most dangerous. They picked up on a few slack balls out from the back from Bristol City. The latest sees Dembele feed the ball into Harris, who flicks it nicely into the path of Plaheta. Shemi has space for the shot about 20 yards out, but sadly it's very wayward and ends up in the car park. And 2 minutes later, following a corner, Plaheta has the chance to do it again, and once again finds the car park. But Oxford were starting to look a little bit more dangerous, and not surprisingly, they look at their most dangerous when Plaheta comes to life. And after a nice spell of possession, it's Plaheta once again on the right-hand side who glides inside to create a shooting chance. This time he gets it on target, but it's straight at O'Leary. On 31 minutes, there is a huge moment in this game. It's very controversial. Straight away, I'm just going to like to ask for Bristol City fans, Oxford fans out there, your thoughts on this one. I'd really like to know, because for me, well, we'll get into it. It's a straight red for Bristol City's Joe Williams. Williams dived into a tackle on Will Vauxx. The Oxford players acted like they were disgusted by the challenge, swarming round the referee. The referee must have deemed it as being reckless because he gave a straight red card to Joe Williams, which I thought looked a little bit harsh. I'm always going to say, when you do lunge in like that, you give the referee a decision to make. And you know that referees don't like those kind of sliding, lunging challenges where you're deemed to be out of control. But for me, maybe I'm a little bit old school, I think it was a little bit harsh. If an Oxford player got sent off for that, I thought it would be harsh. You have to call it fair for both sides. And I thought Bristol City can be pretty aggrieved that they have to play pretty much an hour now with 10 men. But Oxford, can they take advantage of it? We will see. The first 15 minutes left in that half, they really couldn't. They've yet to make that advantage tell, but Plaheta, right at the end of the first half, had another dangerous run, which resulted in a shot from the edge of the area. This one was blocked behind for a corner, but that corner came to nothing, and we got to half-time. And at half-time, all the talk is just going to be about that red card for Williams on the half-hour mark. There really wasn't much in the game up until that point, but from an Oxford point of view, they'll just be hoping that the numbers game can work in their favour in this second half. I am sure the Bristol City fans and players will be extremely frustrated with the referee, who seems to be giving Oxford the lion's share of the decision so far, and you'll probably even think I'm being generous with that. But really, both sides from open play have really cancelled each other out, and chances have been few and far between, with Cumming and O'Leary not really having much to do. Plaheta once again has been the bright spark for United and looks the most likely of unlocking this deadlock. But Oxford have won all the games so far under Gary Rowett. Now they have a golden opportunity to make it 5 wins at home in a row. Join me for the second half to find out if they can do it. We got into the first 5 minutes of the second half, and despite some Oxford United pressure and balls into the box, it was really Bristol City who fashioned 2 really good chances. It's the Oxford old boys who nearly unlocked the door. Firstly, Mark Sykes, who gets an inviting bouncing ball about 25 yards out. It was good work by Armstrong, actually, to harry and hassle the Oxford defence. It's a great strike from Sykes, and it forces Cumming into a save. You'd have been disappointed if Cumming would have been beaten from there. There's a good strike from Sykes. It forced it behind from a corner, and from that corner, it's probably an even better chance. It's Sykes' delivery, Rob Dickie on the end of it. We've seen that before in Oxford United colours, but Rob Dickie heads it wide. That was a good chance. Oxford did crank up the pressure for their credit, but they were still struggling to break this City defence down. But the first big chance for Oxford came on 58 minutes, and not surprisingly, it's the centre-backs who fashion it. It's a Volks long throw. Helik wins the first header. Dembele keeps the ball alive. It's a scuffed effort, but it falls invitingly to Kieran Brown on the 6-yard line. Kieran Brown's been lethal so far this season, so when he turned and struck it towards goal, you expected it to go in the back of the net, but this time, frustratingly for United, it was straight at O'Leary. But that frustration was short-lived, because on 59 minutes, Oxford took the lead in this game. They kept the pressure on and Bristol City couldn't get out, and if first the centre-backs don't get you, then Gregg Leigh will, as he is the man to make it 1-0 for Oxford United. Brannigan trying to work a shooting chance from 25 yards out. His shot was blocked, but it looped up to Gregg Leigh on the left-hand side of the penalty area. He swings his trusty left foot, and whether it's a cross or whether it's a shot, it really doesn't matter, because it just seems to catch the Bristol City defence and goalkeeper cold, and it finds its way into the bottom corner. And Oxford are in the lead. But don't get comfortable, Oxford fans, because just 6 minutes later, Bristol City hit back, and it's a ghost from Oxford's past who does get the goal, and you've got to say it's a brilliant goal from a Bristol City point of view. Helik brought down Armstrong, who got the run on him just outside the penalty area, in a dangerous position for Bristol City on their right-hand side, Oxford's left. Everybody's lining up in the penalty area, expecting Scott Twine to just dink this into the area. But instead, he rolls it across the box to Mark Sykes, who's completely unmarked, far too much space, but it's a wonderful finish from the Oxford old boy, and he curls it into the top corner. He really loved that goal, you can tell, and love him or hate him, that was a great goal from Mark Sykes. Bristol City are all square. And after that goal, Oxford really lost their composure, and Bristol City were playing with the confidence of a side who thought they could go on and win this game. Rowett needed to make changes, and with 20 minutes to go, he did. Peter Chioso and Ruben Rodriguez coming on, Tyler Goodrum and Hide Terravest coming on. Did that mean Oxford were going to change to a back three? I don't think that they did, but they were still struggling to create chances and break Bristol City down, and as they were pushing for a winner, they might have opened the door at the back on 78 minutes. It was a wonderful chance for Bristol City. It was on the break, just a simple ball over the top, and the debutant, Urfi, was running clean through on goal. It would have been a dream debut for him, but I've got to say, as he approached Jamie Cumming, he seemed to run out of steam, and Cameron Brannigan was able to charge back, get back, sort of barge him off the ball, clear the danger, and Oxford could breathe a huge sigh of relief. More changes for Rowett with 10 minutes to go, as you saw Matos and Romani on for Volks and Plaheta. Marcus McGuane also coming on for Bristol City. But on 86 minutes, Bristol City went down to 9 men. The game had got really bad tempered. There was some tetchy moments between the players, some bad tackles going in. Alex Matos with a bad tackle shortly before this challenge by McCrorie, who I've got to say, it's a clumsy, silly tackle. He's gone in late on Kieran Brown on a 50-50 ball, but he's lunged in, he's not won it, and on a yellow card, it's a silly challenge to make. He's given the referee no option really, and this one really was a definite red card. And Oxford have an opportunity to play the final 4 or 5 minutes plus injury time against 9 men. The final roll of the dice for Gary Rowett saw Harris come off and Bradshaw come on. Was it not worth just trying 2 at the top for the final few minutes of the game? But Oxford never really created a clear-cut chance when they were playing against 9. Bristol City defended admirably, and there was only a flicked header by Kieran Brown that went behind. That was the only kind of chance, but wasn't even really a chance. And all in all, Oxford are left frustrated. Bristol City come away with a commendable point. Let's move on to those final thoughts. And let's start with the visitors in Bristol City. And let's just say straight away, I'm really curious to see how you're judging that game and judging your side's performance in that game, Bristol City fans. If you can leave your comments down below, I would be really interested to know, because it seemed like the deck was stacked against you quite a lot. That early red card was certainly a contentious issue, and so playing a long time with a man down wasn't easy. I'm sure you would have been hoping you could have got a victory today at the Kassam Stadium, despite your away form not being that great. But when you get a decision like that, it really does stack the deck against you. But I thought that your side played admirably. They defended really well, really strong effort from the defence. Oxford really couldn't open that back line open often at all, really. And you did carry that goal threat. Certainly Manning deserves credit for the half-time substitution of Armstrong coming up top, because I thought he made a difference. He caused Hellick some problems with his strength and with his pace, and ultimately he got dragged down by Hellick, which got that free kick, which got Bristol City back into the game. But just a couple of things on Bristol City, and I know this is kind of with an asterisk, if you like, because you played so long with 10 men, but I did think that for a large part, the passing was quite sloppy from City. Earlier on in the season when you played with Ashton Gate, I thought the passing and the movement of the Bristol City players was really good, really caused Oxford problems, but I didn't see a lot of that today. And I thought the passing was quite sloppy and quite laboured. You didn't really see Sykes or McCrorie really causing too many problems down the outside. Didn't really see Twine get into the game too much. And I thought passing the ball out from the back as well, you looked a little bit sloppy as well. So is that just a normal thing, what we see from Bristol City when they're playing away? Because I know you've had your struggles away from home. But other than that, defensively, really strong. O'Leary was well protected by that back three, back five, led by Luke McNally, led by the Oxford old boys in Rob Dickey in there as well. And I think overall, you've got to be really pleased with your side's spirit, with the determination shown to get something from this game when absolutely clearly it looked like the deck was stacked against you. Because for me, I thought that red card was harsh. Interested to know your thoughts on it down below. I'm sure that you'll probably agree, but some of you might not. Let me know. Really good opportunity for you guys to get into the playoffs this season. A lot of inconsistent sides up there who just aren't stamping their mark on getting those playoff spots. It looks like there's 2 spots up for grab. Are you going to be one of the sides that get it? It's been a long time for you guys wanting to get into the playoff mix, wanting to get into the Premier League, but you always seem to end up in that mid-table area. Is this season going to be different? Do you still have faith in Liam Manning, that he's going to be the guy that can deliver you the playoffs and ultimately promotion? And what needs to change to maybe make you a little bit more consistent away from home? But overall, congrats on the draw, really. I mean, I'm sure you would have wanted more, but other than that, you've got to be happy with the point of the way the game played out. Good luck for the rest of the season, and who knows, maybe we'll see you at the Kassam Stadium next year. So here's my final thoughts on Oxford United then, and overall, you've got to be disappointed with the fact that we played for well over an hour against 10 men, and we really didn't create many clear-cut openings, clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities to go and win this game. Bristol City defended well, really snuffed us out, and we really, other than from set pieces, that looked like our best avenue of scoring. It didn't look like it was going to happen from open play. And you've got to say, very fortunate goal in the end. But you've also got to say that Bristol City are a very good side, and we're still picking up points. We're still unbeaten under Rowett, and we're still moving in the right direction in terms of putting points on the board in every single game that he's been in charge so far. So that's something to be positive. We'll talk about the flip side of that in a little bit. But overall, I thought the midfield did a decent job. So when it was 11 against 11, I thought that Volks and Brannigan and Rodriguez did a good job of stopping Bristol City playing through the middle of the park, stopped that ball getting into Scott Twine. I thought they won those battles more often than not and looked pretty good. And I also thought Peter Kioso linked up pretty well with Plaheta in the first half. Gregg Leigh came into the game a lot more in the second half. But overall, we just did not see a lot from Oxford through that middle. I thought going forward, Rodriguez was poor. Once again, Dembele, at least he tries to make something happen, but he's far too often too inconsistent. Plaheta, again, tries to make something happen and probably was the brightest spark. Maybe not so much in the second half, but in the first half, he certainly was. But it's just maybe he's a little bit erratic with his shooting. I'd like to have seen if Goodrum would have had some of those chances, whether he might have been able to test O'Leary a little bit more. But you can't get away from the fact that up front we've still got big problems. I know people will be talking about Dane Scarlett going back to Spurs and scoring a goal, but we don't really have a lot of control over that now. So we've got Harris, we've got Bradshaw. Who do you pick? Who do you play? He seems to like Harris's energy, but we're not really seeing a lot from Harris influencing these games. Oxford are struggling to carve out chances for him, and would it have been the worst thing in the world to try Bradshaw and Harris up front in the final few minutes, or do you need to give Romani a go up there to try and play him there? Do you even try something left field and try Matt Phillips in that role as sort of like a false nine who can hold the ball up and bring other players into play? I don't know, but we've got big problems with the striker situation, which does not seem to be solved. And unless we can bring another one in, this is what we've got until the end of the season. And also another point on Harris. I know a lot of you comment the same thing over and over again. You don't need to keep bagging on about whether you like or don't like Harris. But at the end of the season, I'm not sure if Harris is out of contract or not. I think he might still be in contract. But is he a player we might look to offload and bring someone else in? I'd always still like to keep him. I'm maybe too overly loyal to players, but I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that one. I thought Hellick struggled in the second half against Armstrong. I thought it's the first time you've seen him look a little bit unsure at the back. He certainly didn't have a bad game, but just a little bit clumsy in dealing with Bristol City's big man up top. That clumsy foul as he got sort of... Armstrong had dragged him out wide, that clumsy foul which led to the goal. But you can't get away from the fact that goal, as good a finish it was from Mark Sykes, why is nobody picking up that danger? Why is nobody sniffing out that Mark Sykes is lurking free on the edge of the box? Somebody should have gone out to him to try to close that space down quicker, and that will really, really annoy Gary Rowett. I do also think Oxford looked a little bit rattled when they got pegged back in the game. All of a sudden they looked a little bit unsure. They didn't know what to do, and they looked like they were... being pushed back by the 10 men for about 10 minutes or so, where it looked like we might even lose the game. So that was a little bit disconcerting. But overall, the usual suspects played their part. I mean, Cumming didn't have a lot to do, made a good save. Kieran Brown, very dependable at the back. And overall, no real complaints from a defensive point of view. One lapse, we get punished for it, but over that, they played pretty well. But the overarching thing is just going to be that we played against 10 men for such a long time, and we just don't look that fluid in open play, which is annoying because we did against Blackburn, but we didn't in this game. We didn't necessarily against Stoke. We haven't necessarily looked that sharp in any of the away games so far, or against Luton either. We looked a little bit disjointed from open play, and we really hardly forced O'Leary into a save. So when you look at it, and I know we're moving forward in the table, we move on to 37 points now, and results might go our way this afternoon, and we might be 10 points clear of the drop zone, or Derby or Portsmouth or Luton might get a win and close that gap. Plymouth have got a win already this afternoon. I can't help but go away from the last two games and think that that's 4 points we've left on the table. 4 points, 4 extra points we could have picked up, and we really should have come away with a win against Stoke with that Romani chance late in the game, and then you get an opportunity to play against a side for 10 men, with 10 men for an hour, and you can't get that victory. I know we're on 37, but that could easily have been 41, and at 41 points, you're really starting to feel a lot more comfortable. I know that's an obvious thing to say because we still have those big hitters to play. We've got a lot of the top sides left to play at the end of this season, and that is where the form took a massive nosedive under Des Buckingham, is when we played a lot of those sides at the top. So don't think that we're safe yet by any stretch of the imagination. I know that Oxford won't be thinking that. There still is work to do, and hopefully there's still work to do in the transfer window. It's nice to see Stan Mills back. I thought he was very impressive in League One last season. Can he make the step up to the Championship after being out for a year now? It remains to be seen. It's going to take a while for him to get back up to speed, but it's a signing, so he's our player. He's certainly one for the future. He's under 20. Well, he's 21, isn't he? So he won't be a player that we need to register, I don't think, which is another big tick in the box for the Oxford United squad, or 25-man squad when it's all said and done. So I think that's a good, positive, low-risk kind of signing, and Mills certainly showed that he's got pace and quality, and Oxford really do need a bit more pace and quality. But let me know your thoughts down below. Let's see what we can get in before the transfer window. Really tough game coming up away to Burnley. If we get a point from that one, I think you just got to be delighted. But who knows? Who knows what can happen? And then we've got a massive game away at Derby a week Tuesday. That one is going to be a pivotal game. And I'll be back to do reviews for it, so please stick to the channel. Please leave your comments down below. Thank you, as always, for the support. I think I've rambled on for long enough about this 1-1 draw. I really do appreciate all the support you give me, certainly on these draws where they just don't really seem to get the views as wins or losses do. So thank you very much, and I will see you very soon.